Welcome to Behind the Crime, where true crime meets real life. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. Let's uncover the truth, one case at a time. Now, let's see today's story. Arkansas State Police investigate a double homicide after two bodies were found along a trail at Devil's Den State Park. Nestled deep within the rolling folds of northwest Arkansas lies a place locals describe with a mixture of reverence and pride, a sanctuary where nature still feels untouched by the modern world. Devil's Den State Park, with its towering bluffs, cavernous rock formations, and winding trails shaded by ancient oaks, is a landscape of quiet beauty and rugged mystery. To those who know it best, it's not just a park, it's a storybook carved in stone and forest, where generations of families have camped, hiked, and explored. It was late July, high summer in Arkansas. The cicadas sang loudly in the tree canopy, and sunlight filtered in dappled patches through leaves thick with the season's green. Families on vacation, mountain bikers seeking thrills, and seasoned hikers all flocked to the park during this time of year. It was an oasis, a reprieve from busy lives, the kind of place where children could roam freely and parents could breathe deeply, surrounded by nature. Clinton and Cristen Brink had come here for just that. Married for more than a decade, the couple were known among their friends for being deeply devoted parents to their two young daughters, ages 7 and 9. They lived in nearby Fayetteville, and while work and school kept life busy, weekends like this were sacred. A trip to Devil's Den was the perfect summer escape, a chance for the girls to play in the creeks, spot wildlife on the trails, and sleep beneath a canopy of stars. On the morning of Saturday, July 26th, the Brinks loaded their gear and drove the familiar route south along Highway 170. Their daughters chattered in the back seat, clutching backpacks filled with snacks and trail maps. Clinton, 43, was a quiet man who loved fishing and woodworking, the kind of father who took pride in teaching his kids how to build things with their hands. Cristen, 41, was more outgoing, a woman whose warmth could light up any room. Together, they were the kind of parents who made everything feel like an adventure. As the family pulled into the park's main lot, they were greeted by the sprawling stone structures built by the Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, in the 1930s. Devil's Den's rustic cabins and historic trails had drawn generations before them. But even more striking was the park's landscape, the jagged bluffs that loomed over the Lee Creek Valley, the caves that whispered of ancient times, and the winding paths that disappeared into the forest. The Brinks weren't strangers to Devil's Denver. They had hiked these trails before, perhaps even the one they chose that morning. Like most visitors, they likely paused at the trailhead to read the map, picking a route that would lead them through some of the park's most scenic spots. With temperatures climbing, the shade of the forest was a welcome reprieve from the Arkansas summer heat. Unbeknownst to them, somewhere along those same trails, a stranger was also moving through the park. A man no one knew, carrying a backpack and wearing dark clothing, his face obscured by sunglasses and a baseball cap. Other hikers would later recall seeing him, though they could not have guessed the role he would play in turning a family's peaceful outing into tragedy. For now, though, the Brinks' day felt ordinary, joyful even. The girls laughed as they skipped across stepping stones in the creek. Cristen snapped pictures on her phone of the rock formations rising like natural cathedrals around them. Clinton, steady and strong, led the way. In those moments, Devil's Den was everything it was meant to be, a refuge for families, a sanctuary of peace. But Devil's Den had always carried an air of mystery. Its very name evoked legends of the supernatural, of shadowy caves and unexplored corners of the Ozark wilderness. Locals knew the stories, tales of Civil War deserters who once hid in the park's caves, of strange noises echoing through the valley at night. Most visitors brushed off those myths with a laugh. After all, the park was safe. That belief would shatter before the day was over. As the sun began its slow descent, the Brinks reached a quieter stretch of trail. Few hikers were around at this hour. Most had returned to their campsites or cabins to rest. The trail here narrowed, curving between moss-covered boulders and thick stands of trees. It was beautiful, isolated, and someone was waiting. The sun was dipping lower in the Arkansas sky when Clinton and Cristen Brink, still accompanied by their daughters, began to wind their way through a shaded section of trail. It was a beautiful, quiet stretch, perhaps too quiet. The songs of birds had grown distant, replaced by the muffled rustle of leaves overhead. The girls walked a few steps ahead, their bright voices carrying through the trees, while their parents followed at a slower pace, enjoying the last light of day. Somewhere behind them, or perhaps ahead, the man in the long-sleeved shirt was waiting. Later, witnesses would remember fragments, a flash of dark fabric between the trees, the glint of sunglasses, a figure keeping to the shadows as though trying to avoid being seen. Nobody knew how long he had been in the park or why he had chosen this trail. What happened next remains partly shrouded in mystery, pieced together by the Arkansas State Police from footprints, tire marks, and a handful of photos taken by other hikers earlier that day. But one thing is clear, the peaceful hike became a fight for survival in a matter of moments. The Brinks were confronted by the stranger in a place where escape was difficult. The trail narrowed there, hemmed in by boulders and dense forest. Investigators believe the man may have approached them suddenly, cutting off their path. Clinton, ever protective, likely stepped forward first, placing himself between the attacker and his family. The details of the attack have not been fully disclosed by authorities, but they confirmed that both Clinton and Cristen fought to protect their children. In the struggle, investigators believe the suspect sustained injuries, cuts or bruises that may have left behind traces of blood or DNA evidence. The girls, too young to understand the full horror of what was unfolding, were quickly pulled to safety by their parents. Authorities believe Clinton and Kristen's actions saved their daughters' lives. When the violence ended, the trail was silent again. 2 lives had been taken, and 2 young children were left alone in the woods. Somehow, those girls made their way back along the trail, frightened and disoriented, until they were found by other park visitors who immediately called 911. By the time first responders arrived, it was too late to save Clinton and Cristen. Their bodies lay along the trail, the peace of the park shattered by what police now call an act of senseless brutality. Devil's Den State Park is vast, covering thousands of acres of the Ozark National Forest. Closing it down entirely was no small task, but that's exactly what authorities did. Park rangers and state troopers fanned out across the network of trails, calling to hikers and campers, instructing everyone to leave immediately. Helicopters circled overhead as night fell, their searchlights sweeping the forest. The suspect was gone. What he left behind was scant: footprints, possible blood evidence, and the memory of a fleeting figure captured in one hiker's photograph. That photo, later released by Arkansas State Police, showed the man from behind, standing on a trail and looking out toward the trees. He wore a dark baseball cap, fingerless gloves, and a long-sleeved shirt with the sleeves rolled up. A black backpack was slung across his shoulders. There were no clear facial features, no identifying tattoos or scars. Only the shape of a man who seemed as comfortable in the wilderness as any seasoned hiker. Investigators scoured the park through the night, bringing in 9 units to track the suspect's scent. But Devil's Den is a labyrinth of trails and backroads, and somewhere beyond its boundaries lies a network of rural highways. By dawn on Sunday, July 27th, the manhunt had expanded far beyond the park. As police questioned witnesses, a crucial piece of information emerged. Several people had seen a black 4-door sedan leaving the park around the time of the murders. It was described as possibly a Mazda, its license plate partially obscured by electrical or duct tape. That detail troubled investigators. Covering a plate isn't something people do by accident. It suggests intent, planning. Whoever this man was, he had thought about how to avoid detection. State Highway 170 and Highway 220 both lead away from Devil's Den, connecting to a spiderweb of roads that wind through northwest Arkansas and beyond. Within minutes, a vehicle could be miles away, swallowed up by rural. The 2 Brink daughters were now safe with relatives, but they had endured something no child should ever face. In their small voices, they told investigators what little they could remember. A man, a stranger, had attacked their parents. There was shouting, fear, chaos. Authorities have shielded the girls from further public exposure, citing their young ages. Counselors and victim advocates have been brought in to help them begin to heal from the trauma. News of the murders spread rapidly across Arkansas. Devil's Den was a beloved park, considered a safe and serene place to hike or camp. The idea that a killer could be lurking in its woods sent shockwaves through the community. By Sunday morning, flowers and handwritten notes began appearing at the park's closed entrance. Local residents expressed grief and anger in equal measure. "This isn't supposed to happen here," one woman told a local reporter. "We all grew up hiking those trails. It feels like a piece of home has been taken from us." Authorities urged the public not to panic, but to remain vigilant. They believed the suspect had left the park, but until he was caught, no one could feel truly safe. Arkansas State Police released a composite sketch of the suspect based on descriptions from witnesses. He was identified only as a white male, his age unknown. Detectives declined to speculate on his motive. Crime scene analysts continued to comb through the trail for evidence, collecting fibers, DNA samples, and anything else that might lead them to the killer. "We're confident he sustained injuries during the attack," one investigator said. "Somewhere out there, someone knows a man who came home with unexplained cuts or bruises that weekend. That's the person we need to hear from." But leads were slow to come. For the Brink family, the investigation could not move quickly enough. Clinton and Kristen's loved ones released a statement asking for privacy and urging the public to come forward with information. Their daughters, they said, had been bravely strong but were struggling to understand the unimaginable. As the manhunt stretched into its second day, one question echoed through the Ozarks. Who was the man on the trail, and why did he kill the Brinks?